Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast. This is your regular injection of strange, bizarre, weird, sinister, all the rest of it. News from around the world and locally sourced as well. This is episode 414, and as you can probably hear by my voice, I've been sick, and it's not been fun. It's probably one of the worst flus I've ever had. I'm now, more at the stage where I can walk around and be mobile and do a podcast, but I'm feeling still pretty rough. But Rob, as I say hello to Rob, of course I've really got that very great now radio voice, and I can do a really nice deep baritone if I want to, and really, sound like the man I've always wanted to sound like, Rob.
Alex, I think the listeners will appreciate that. And, I know for a fact that over the last 12 years of podcasting, 12 years? Has it been 12 years? Or has it been longer than that? I can never quite remember now. But both of us have been ill multiple times, as often happens, to humans. But I know the listeners will appreciate your deep, gravelly tones, because how could they not? Quite frankly, I'm really sorry to hear you felt so ill. I know you messaged me last night and said, it's one of the worst flus you've had. In regards to your question before we start recording, yes, I'm fine, but Lyra is overcoming a bout of head, foot, and mouth. No, hand, foot, and mouth. There we go. That's the correct use.
Isn't that something which afflicts animals? As I remember, we had what was called a foot and mouth. Wasn't it when you labour around? Was it cows or sheep or something?
Yeah. No, it is entirely unrelated. It does seem strange that the name of the virus is so closely, connected to foot and mouth, and was it CJD? Was it? I think whatever it was in animals. Anyway, but hand, foot, and mouth is quite a common disease around young people. It basically it brings them out in like little like. Basically, it's a rash that comes out on their hands, foot, and mouth, as the name suggests. Lyra only had it around her mouth, and very strangely, although she was contagious, she could return to nursery because there's nothing you can do about it. It's just one of those things that just runs its course and will.
But if it's contagious, why would they want her to spread it?
Because it doesn't really have any sort of lasting impact or lasting side effects. They literally said if you can get a diagnosis and they can confirm that it is just hand, foot, and mouth, she can return to nursery the following day. By the way, humans, adults can catch it, but you can't. There's nothing you can do to treat it because it doesn't cause any pain or discomfort. It's just one of those things.
Just for anybody who's confused, who's just tuned into this podcast, local anaesthetic has nothing to do with medicine. This podcast, nothing to do with it. It's to do with news. Yeah. So Rob. No, well, of course we're interested, Rob. But what you're saying is she's got a rash that doesn't hurt, that doesn't cause any other symptoms. Right, okay. Well, we wish her well, Rob.
Thanks. I think she's over it now. I mean, I appreciate that this kind of... It plays down how ill you've been in the last couple of days when I'm talking about this, this very trivial rash.
No, not at all. I may very well have had COVID, and I'll tell you why. And I wouldn't normally go into this sort of detail on our podcast, Rob, but my symptoms started over a week ago with incredibly painful bollocks. When I say painful, right. I mean absolutely in agony. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And then when I looked it up, it's apparently quite a common symptom or for some people, if they catch one of the strains of COVID, it can start off with severe testicular pain.
I wasn't aware of that. I also had this conversation with someone, I think literally at the beginning of the week, but... I'm assuming. Did you test for COVID just out of interest?
No.
Because I was wondering whether the old COVID tests, of which we have numerous kits, because my wife needs them. I was wondering whether they detect the new strains of COVID. I'm not sure if anyone could let us know whether that is the case or not. I'm just curious. I
kind of feel like they do. Why don't you ask her? She's the expert. But
she doesn't work in the NHS, Alex. I mean, she's a vet nurse. I mean, they don't often test animals for COVID.
This is a podcast about strange, bizarre news, Rob. Right? We've deviated. We're now back onto medicine again. Just stop, right? Let's leave my painful bollocks behind and your daughter's rash. Let's go to The Guardian. Now, Rob, I'm actually just reading this out as an update because we have to.
Alex, just before, you didn't, not that you asked, but just before we get on, can I just read out one piece of news?
Oh, right, sorry.
Yes, it's fine, it's okay. I know that you have a very foggy head at the moment, but this is from Steve. I wouldn't normally sort of interrupt you, but this is Eagle Heights related. If anyone is interested,
wow,
Eagle Heights are running a Lego competition. There are different age ranges, so if the categories are 6 and below, 7 to 11, and 12 to 18. There's a £3 fee if you would like to join. It is, I mean, unfortunately, it would have closed by the time this podcast goes out, so it is slightly redundant, but I found it very entertaining because Steve left the caption, "It must be agony when barefooted cheaters run over Lego pieces whilst trying to escape," which is very, very pertinent. But
anybody who's ever trodden on a Lego bit will understand what Steve is referencing there.
Yes, exactly.
Look, as I said, Rob, I just want to start with the Traitorous Guardian with an update. Now, this is a comedy podcast. I am not going to be reading you a comedy story, and I do apologise for that. But we can't just omit news that relates to stories that we've been covering. Now, I'm sure you've heard about this. But this is by Stephen Morris, Friday the 27th of October 2023. Now, we covered these initial stories extensively. The headline is "Man Accused of Being Somerset Gimp Guilty of Deliberately Scaring Motorists." Now, did you see this update all over the news, Rob?
I think Faces Strange actually submitted it, yeah.
Right, okay. So, now, right, I just want to tell you, because actually this is important. So we covered lots of stories about the Somerset Gimp. Then we covered another story, didn't we, about somebody else who was spotted in the area scaring people, but people weren't sure if it was the Gimp or not, or if it was a different area. Do you remember there were these sort of disparate stories?
Well, there was the Essex Gimp who was well known in the local area.
Yeah, but he was doing it deliberately as a laugh, and
raising money for charity. Yeah.
So a man has been found guilty of deliberately terrifying motorists on a dark country lane by dressing head to foot in black and donning a mask with eyes and a mouth painted on, but he insisted he was not the notorious Somerset Gimp. Joshua Hunt, 32, confirmed in court that he was the masked man who'd been frightening passing drivers in North Somerset on 2 nights out in May, but giving evidence at Bristol Magistrates Court, he said the outfit I wear is not anything to do with the Gimp. Now, the reason I'm reading this out, Rob, and I said it's actually quite sad, and I am just highlighting it, is that this story adds a kind of layer of a lot of the stories we read out are very bizarre.
Yep.
And a lot of the stories we read out actually have something to do with mental illness. And this guy, he's actually in real distress, Rob. So this guy is a gardener. Basically, the police found that he'd made searches on his phone for stories about the Somerset Gimp, which the Guardian say is a mysterious figure who's been spotted since 2018. But he'd only done this to keep up with local events. He said he would don his black costume, this guy, to go mudding and cover himself in shit because he had low self-esteem and he basically had been contemplating suicide. Rob, do you know what mudding is?
No, Alex, I don't. Really interestingly, I've got a story that's very similar to this, which also is related to mental health. It's nothing to do with this particular story, but there's a lot of similarities, very strangely.
But the really sad thing about this, Rob, I just want to finish with this. So, after midnight on 9th of May, 2 women and a teenager were driving back from work when they saw a masked figure in black standing in the middle of the road, legs apart, arms behind their back. The driver said her passenger screamed. "I felt sheer horror," she said. "It was a scary costume." She sped off and called the police. They said it was like something out of a horror movie. When 2 police officers arrived, Rob, and found Hunt, now wearing grey joggers and a blue hoodie, he told them, "I'm not a gimp. I don't own a gimp suit. I'm not in a gimp suit. I'm not dangerous. I'm a normal person. I've got problems. I need help," basically.
Oh, that's quite sad.
And he finished. It is, and he finished just there was saying that basically, I remember reading in this. It basically said he really needed support, but found it really hard to access it. And again, I'm highlighting that at the top of our episode just because it is a damning indictment of the way our government has really prioritised mental health services, Rob.
Very true.
So I say this story just to say that behind some of these stories is sometimes something quite tragic. Anyway.
Alex, just to add a bit more context, mudding, by the way, is the recreational activity of driving an off-road vehicle through muddy terrain, which doesn't feel like it's relevant to the context of the story, but apparently that's what the definition of it is.
Something else, yeah. Thanks, Rob. Right. Rob, let's turn to a person I don't often want to talk about on this podcast, but I feel I must. Elon Musk.
Oh gosh!
Now, you did mention him in our last. What are your before you tell me your opinions on the man? My opinions in the past have sort of been mixed because I've sort of been quite interested and thankful that he's made sort of cautionary remarks about AI and things like that, and really tried to sort of warn about the possible negative consequences of various things. But on the other side of things, my God, I mean, and obviously what he's done to Twitter, and what was it he just did the other day where he basically accused the leader of the SNP of being a racist by watching out of context remarks. Your views on Elon Musk, Rob?
I think with Elon Musk, it feels I don't know why with Elon Musk it feels very much like he's a Donald Trump-esque figure, which what I mean by that is the fact that he's desperate to try and fit in and desperate to be liked, but I think whatever he does is going to anger someone. So Donald Trump obviously really wanted to be part of the establishment, but was always seen as quite an anti-establishment figure, so then really played up to that fact. And then, and the only way, and he found that by being a populist and by saying these controversial things, that he would then elicit more support from the right. And it feels like Elon's going the same way. I feel like Elon's got to the point where
he claims that he's terrified by this woke mind virus and it's all about free speech. But the trouble is that he's turned Twitter into a right-wing cesspit.
Yeah, and also he deliberately, when he took control of Twitter, he deliberately then started literally deleting the accounts of any journalist who had written a critical story of him. So if he's not a free speech warrior as he likes to claim he is. I mean, I know that's not an exact quote, but as you rightly say, Twitter was bad already, but somehow he's made it worse.
Well, my favourite story about Elon was that time where I began to be intrigued by him was when do you remember that guy who was trying to the deep sea diver who's trying to investigate the cave to rescue 12 boys
the Thailand football
from the Thai cave, and Musk just tweeted calling him pedo guy.
Yeah, and for literally no reason whatsoever.
But did you know that he was found not guilty, Musk, of defaming the British gaver in a US jury by calling him pedo guy? He told the court, Musk, that the phrase pedo guy was common in South Africa where he grew up. And afterwards, Mr. Musk said, my faith in humanity is restored. Anyway, I don't get how that was the answer. But the story I want to read out is very recent. It's from The Hill, Rob. So we're going highbrow now.
Yep.
This is from the 23rd of October, 2023. Elon Musk offers $1 billion to Wikipedia if it changes its name. Have you heard about this, Rob? This is genuine.
Yeah, I have heard that his latest target is Wikipedia for some bizarre reason.
Well, billionaire Elon Musk has offered Wikipedia $1 billion under the condition that it changes its name to Dickipedia. The owner of X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, wrote his offer in a post on his site. He has previously posted a screenshot of a personal appeal from Wikipedia co-founder Jimmy Wales stating that the website is not for sale. So Musk wrote, I'll give them $1 billion if they change their name to Dickipedia. Please add that to the cow and poop emojis on my wiki page, he continued in another post, in the interest of accuracy. When one user, journalist Ed Krasenstein, suggested that online encyclopedia take the deal, saying it can always change it back after you collect, Musk added a condition to his offer, 1 year minimum. I mean, I'm not a fool, lol. He made multiple posts earlier Sunday criticising the Wikimedia Foundation, the non-profit that hosts Wikipedia, for asking for money. He said, have you ever wondered why the Wikimedia Foundation wants so much money? It certainly isn't needed to operate Wikipedia. You can literally fit a copy of the entire text on your phone. So what's the money for? Inquiring minds want to know. But the app's community notes, which basically Wikipedia state themselves that they handle over 25 billion page views per month and over 44 million page edits a month, which require substantial operating costs. So, thoughts, Rob?
Alex, this just seems like a man who just wants, as I said, wants to be liked, wants to be and make these. It's almost like dad level jokes. Do you know what I mean? I mean, this is also the man who walked into Twitter carrying a sink and then literally tweeted, let that sink in. I mean, these aren't funny, Alex. He's not, he's not an edgelord. He's not, this high level memer. That's not a word. I've just made it up. But
Sorry.
that's...
So you've got to explain to me. I'm feeling rather old. What's an edgelord?
Do you know what an edgelord... Oh, an edgelord is someone who says deliberately something controversial to provoke conversation.
Where did this phrase come from? Never heard of it. Edgelord. Yeah, okay. When did this? Is it an urban?
Edgelord's been around for a long time, Alex. It's like,
Never heard it before.
Have you ever heard of shit posting as well? That's quite good, quite a popular thing. Yeah,
I've heard of that.
It's on a similar line. It's something. It's done to deliberately provoke a response. That's what it is. But Elon, I don't think he's even necessarily trying to do that. He's just trying to do things that he thinks are funny, which they're not. They're just pathetic. They're childish and pathetic.
Agree. Rob, listen. Can we just have now, Rob, just a bit of, I don't know, what would be the word? Some respectful decorum, Rob, because we're going to do a story, Rob, involving our king.
Right.
So tone of this podcast needs to change. And I might even put on some, I will put on some music. Because I don't think we should have done a special episode when he was coronated. So, like people make special mugs. We should have done something that would have always, endured in the public consciousness. It's very upsetting.
Yeah, I mean,
actually, Rob.
Yeah, well, I mean, not only did we fail to mention the Queen's death, I think we also failed to mention his coronation. So, I mean, that's two major events that we, let's be honest, we deliberately chose to ignore.
Don't rub salt in the wound, Rob. Anyway, this is from Rob. I can't think of any publication more fitting to cover a story about our king.
Right.
May God rest his soul and give him long life. Sorry, because God rest.
May God rest his soul. That's not the.
May God keep him in kingship in perpetuity, Rob. So this story is from Yahoo Life.
Okay.
From their Bang Showbiz section, and it's
right. Okay, sure.
It's from Monday, the 23rd of October. It says it's a 2-minute read, so substantive.
Good to
King Charles urged to use his direct hotline to President Joe Biden to expose the truth about UFOs.
Right, fine.
I always enjoy watching Rob's face. Yeah, okay. Anyway, as I said, Rob, decorum. King Charles, may God...
Don't say rest his soul again.
May God give him long life.
Just say God save the king. God save the king is fine.
God save the king. Thank you. Yeah, but save him from what? That's what I've often been wondering. But they call that God save from what? It's very non-specific. I think if we're going to...
I like to think it's all the colonies, or the angry colonies.
Let God save the king from all the angry colonies and their request for reparations.
Yeah.
King Charles has been urged to apply pressure on US President Joe Biden to reveal the truth about UFOs. Nick Pope, a former employee of the UK's UFO desk, never heard of, has revealed the many ways in which the British monarch can help the UK disclosure process commence, as it did across the pond 3 months ago, as someone with direct access to the world leader. In UFO expert Mark Christopher Lee's new film, The King of UFOs, Nick Pope says, here is somebody, as in the king, who could pick up the phone and say, look here, what's going on in the United States? He could ask for a full classified briefing. The documentary states that Charles can request ministers for the UK Parliament to compile a report if there is ever any unexplained activity in UK airspace, as it would be a potential defence and safety issue. The King could also gather parliamentary questions, much like the US initiated discourse, and gather enough momentum to force the Defence Minister to hold a hearing. Pope claims that the King must be interested in UFOs, as the late Prince Philip and his great uncle Lord Mountbatten were apparently very interested in UFOs too. I don't know where the evidence for that is, but apparently they were. Lee believes part of the government's fears against investigating the phenomena is the, in quotes, demonic element to UFO sightings. So that's why they're scared of looking into this, Rob. Because some of them are, apparently there's a demonic element to some of the sightings. I've never really come across that. In all the UFO stories I've never heard about demons as being part of it. Have you?
No.
Right.
No, unless it was like the story we covered a few weeks back, about that missing cat, and police decided that it must be Satanists. Maybe the Ministry of Defence has decided that maybe it must be Satanists as well. They can't find any evidence, so maybe it is Satanists.
Anyway, the filmmaker recently made the hit Tubi film, God vs. Aliens, an exploration of the spiritual implications of the first contact we could have.
Sorry, Alex. What? Sorry, I've never heard of this film before. Film?
Former Canadian diver Dan Costello was interviewed in the film and claims he worked with the then Prince Charles on Project Serpio in Nova Scotia in Canada in 1975. It was a top-secret mission which saw 12 US astronauts travel to the Zeta Reticuli star system to visit an alien race known as the Ebens. Wait, we're going to go through this again. No, we're going to go through this again, Rob, because this is stuff that you're ignorant of and you should know about.
Okay.
Wait. I want you to make sure that when you see Sarah today after this, you tell her in a sort of rushed and breathless voice. And when you get into the office this week, you start telling all your colleagues about this in a rushed and breathless voice. Because, Rob, that's what I'm asking you to do. For the king. King!
I'm telling people that a Canadian diver in 1972 worked with Prince Charles on a secret space mission to send 12 US astronauts into space to a far-off constellation.
But Rob, that diver is in no way related to the diver that we mentioned earlier that Elon Musk labelled pedo guy, and I assume can now legally be called pedo guy after the basis of this, after the outcome of the trial. Anyway, so let's read this again. Former Canadian diver Dan Costello was interviewed in the film God vs. Aliens and claims he worked with, so his claim is, I worked with Prince Charles when he was Prince Charles and not our king.
Yep.
On Project Serpio in Nova Scotia in Canada in 1975. Now what was Project Serpio, Rob? It was a top secret mission which saw 12 US astronauts travel to the Zeta Reticuli star system to visit an alien race known as the Ebens. Costello alleges he saw Prince Charles, the then Prince Charles, who's now our king and redeemer, pilot an experimental craft that resembled a UFO and was powered by a form of electromagnetism which had a harmful effect on those in close proximity to it, but presumably didn't harm Charles himself inside it, because otherwise,
he'd be dead, I'm assuming.
Well, get dead or suffer some sort of horrendous mutation, which hopefully has not happened. So what do you think of that, Rob? He says he saw him with his own eyes pilot this craft.
Does he, I hate to ask this question, Alex, not that I'm disbelieving of this gentleman, does he have any evidence?
He says that the then prince's piloting skills saved the day.
Right.
Governments across the world have been accused of hiding the existence of aliens for centuries. However, in July, there was a breakthrough when a public Congress hearing took place after former intelligence officer David Charles Gersh accused the US government of hiding evidence of non-human intelligence. The film, God vs. Aliens, Rob, will be released on Tubi and Iazat in November. That's a bit weird. So why does Yahoo News claim that the film is a hit film when it hasn't been released yet?
I mean, Alex, again, not trying to be cynical, because maybe that gives this story some degree of credence, because otherwise there's a pile of old shit.
I was just looking at a naked picture of Britney Spears. I mean, she is actually naked. Yeah.
Alex, where in Canada was it, just out of interest?
Did you not care about me looking at naked pictures of Britney Spears? She's released a naked picture of herself to promote her book. I mean, yeah, you can see her. That's surprising. Good on you, Britney.
Well, I'll look up later.
It's been released on something called Tubi.
I don't know what that is. Now, whereabouts in Canada was it? It wasn't a place called Resolute Bay by any chance, was it?
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia, okay. Well,
actually, let's find out more about this. Nova Scotia calendar, Prince Charles, aliens.
Did you just say calendar?
Canada.
Calendar Canada. Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were focusing on Britney Spears again. Resolute Bay. The reason I'm being where's Resolute Bay? If it's in Nova Scotia,
can I just say, Rob? I don't recall that. I've never heard of Prince Charles being a pilot. I know his dad was. I don't think Prince Charles is an established and
Yeah, I don't think he is. I don't think he is a pilot, as far as I'm aware.
Well, maybe, you know. I'm sure our king, Rob, can turn his hand to anything. Whether it be piloting, anything. Yeah.
Well, I have found a picture of him from the archives, and Prince Charles was in Canada in 1975. He went diving, apparently. I'm just trying to find out in which province this is in.
Not with the other pedo guy either, though.
Not that I'm aware of, no. There's no evidence of that.
Rob, you got a story for us there.
Yes, so this is from the Stoke-on-Trent Live. It was from the 26th of September by George Bunn. Great name. B-U-N-N.
George Bunn?
Yeah, B-U-N-N.
The name's Bunn. George Bunn.
Yeah. Now, as I said, very similar to the man who went mudding. And I think whilst you can read, mudding apparently is just the practice to get covered in mud. So either within a vehicle or just, by yourself, I'm assuming. Obviously, there is mental health needs, which we are not by any stretch of the imagination making light of. But again, it's the detail, Alex. So the headline of this story it's quite long, but naked man with poo-smeared face seen hiding in bush as bizarre 8-minute police chase comes to an end.
The phrase poo-smeared face, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So a naked man with poo on his face was seen clutching a stolen bottle of bubble bath.
Where was this?
This is in Stoke.
So in Stoke, there's a naked man running around having stolen some bubble bath and poo on his face.
Yes.
Are the Conservatives... are the Conservatives proud of what they've done to this country, Rob? I mean...
I really hope so, yeah.
I think they don't care, do they?
No, they don't. They don't give a shit, Alex. I think they're quite proud of their record, if anything.
Can I ask you about that? Given that whenever the Tories are in power, they just completely decimate, everything about the country and sort of turn it into like a dump heap cesspit. Why don't they care? Like, why? Because that's surely because I understand that they manage to feather their nests in the process and they help out their sort of they help out the people at the top. But surely a country that's so deprived and in such a state of chaos is not a prosperous country. So I'm a bit confused. Is it literally just individual benefit?
That's the only thing I think it is. It's literally about your self-interest. That has to be it. Because at the same time, they have left no meaningful legacy. After 13 years in power, and they could have literally. I mean, if polling continues until the next election, they could be seeing themselves in the political wilderness for a long, long time.
I really hope that.
But then also, I was reading an article yesterday from Wellingborough about obviously the I mean, I hate the man anyway, but Peter Bone, who obviously has been charged with some quite abhorrent allegations, and yet there's still a voter who described him. Yeah, which are allegations, they are unfounded, but there's still a voter who described him as a great man, so she can get to hell. What was I talking about? Oh yes, we're going to talk about this story.
A man who's hiding in a bush, having stolen some bubble bath with poo on his face.
So as he hid in a bush, as a bizarre 8-minute police chase came to an end. So Joseph Seven was spotted performing a sex act on himself as he made a nude sprint in Adderley Green after climbing out of his ex's bathroom window.
Sorry. Sorry, this is a man... So he stole a bubble bath from the woman's bathroom?
From his ex,
right,
yeah.
So he's in his ex's house, he's climbed out the bathroom window, he's naked, he's got poo on his face, and he's committing a sex act. When they say that, it normally just means wanking, doesn't it? I mean, we can assume. I mean, the thing, it could be anything.
It does actually tell you what he was doing, actually. There's a lot of detail in this story, strangely.
Did it involve a toilet brush?
No, it doesn't. No. Also, his name Joseph Seven as well sounds like he could be a serial killer.
I wouldn't have thought there are many Joseph Sevens in Stoke. And I don't mean that belittlingly. It's just Joseph Seven sounds like a kind of quite artsy, liberally name. Oh, let's call our child Joseph Seven. Whereas, now, let's be honest, like in Stoke, a more common name would be George Bun.
Yeah. It is 7 is in the river, by the way. It's so it's not the number 7. It's in the river 7, which is obviously has an R. Has an R in.
I still stand by my point, and
I think it's still valid. Yeah,
because in a lot of the history of surnames, Rob, a lot of it was based on the profession of your.
True,
like a goldsmith or whatever. But obviously, in places like Stoke, where there wasn't really a lot of work, it was just names like George Bun. We'll just name you after a bun because that's what we eat.
Fair enough. I mean, they do. I mean, obviously that you can. I think it's is it pikelets? No, what's Stoke famous for? They have a breaded item which you can only get in Stoke. Anyway, so. The 26-year-old was eventually found by officers crouching by a door with his genitals exposed and rubbing bubble bath all over his body.
This is somebody, Rob, going through an incredible, distressing breakdown, I would assume.
It is.
How old is this man?
He's 26.
Right, that is even more. I mean, it's bad whatever age, but if you're at that point, that young.
It is very upsetting, Alex. So apparently, during the ensuing struggle, he hurled a mop bucket and bit one of the officers. As he was finally arrested, he inserted a finger up his bottom.
Why did it need to tell us that?
I don't know. Why is that relevant?
So he just walked off with the... Okay.
So Stoke-on-Trent Crown Court heard that Seven had been in a casual relationship with his partner for 2 months, but it did not end on good terms. Prosecuting.
Well, probably because he stole a bubble bath, and smeared himself in shit.
Yeah, that was after they broke up.
That's a way to respond to somebody breaking up with you. Yeah.
It's definitely a way to end a relationship. So, prosecutor Jonathan Dickinson said Seven entered his ex's flat in Adderley Green uninvited on January 28th. The defendant heard the door slam and went to investigate. On the way to the bathroom, she heard the shower running. Upon entering, she saw discarded clothing and human feces wiped on the floor on the side of the bath. The court heard the defendant was naked and crouching down in the bath. Mr. Dickens said after seeing him in the bathroom, she shouted at him to get out, and that she was going to call the police. He asked if he could have sex with her. She phoned her brother to ask him to come to the flat. As you do, Alex. While she was on the phone, the defendant, still naked, jumped out the window and knocked over 2 ornaments, stealing a bottle of bubble bath.
Which is you met Alan Partridge when he runs off with the cheese.
Yeah.
It's like he didn't, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's literally anything he can get his hands on. The police arrived and heard the defendant was making his way down Banksman Road. He was seen hiding in the bushes, naked apart from a jacket. He had feces covering his face and mouth. The police eventually caught him crouching by the back door of the property, genitals exposed, rubbing the stolen gel all over himself. Officer tried to restrain him and pick up a nearby... Officer tried to restrain him and he picked up a nearby mop bucket and threw the water over the officer before throwing the bucket at them.
Well, hang on. A great way to avoid being restrained is you want things that are on your skin that are going to be slippery, and I would have thought bubble bath, being covered in bubble bath is going to make you very hard to detain, as well as shit. Because that would be quite slippery as well, Rob.
You're absolutely correct, Alex, because apparently the story literally says officers tried to restrain him. Officers tried to restrain him, but he's very slippery from the shower gel. Could you imagine
So that's why he stole the bubble. So it wasn't random. It wasn't like the cheese. It was just, I'm going,
it was to evade capture. Yeah, exactly that.
Can you imagine you're a police officer and you go home and you're sitting opposite your partner and she says, he says, how was your day today? And you say, well, this is what happened. I mean, that's going to keep you up at night.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, as you rightly said, whilst he was resisting arrest, apparently he started masturbating. So he was caught on body cameras and made several attempts to start masturbating during the chase, which is even more impressive.
So this suggests that this scenario was perhaps for some people some kind of fetish.
Possibly. I mean, so whilst he was put in handcuffs, he made an attempt to insert a finger up his anus. I mean, Alex, this is obviously a man in serious mental crisis here. So just to conclude the story, so his defendant basically said he recognised this was an unpleasant incident. This was not a situation that required extensive planning. It was impulse. In terms of damage, it was limited to nominal. I said that my client said it wasn't sexually motivated. He does have an explanation, and he is aware it is unlikely to assist Your Honour, but but he said he simply wanted a wash. There are concerns of mental illness.
What did you want, the partner to do with it? And asking the girl for sex? That was sexually motivated, wasn't it?
I love the fact that your mitigating reason for this entire escapade is the fact that you simply wanted a wash. So you broke into your ex's house, used her shower, then jumped out the window and then started masturbating whilst running away from the police.
I would say to Joseph, advice, leave it a couple of weeks for the dust to settle, drop her a text and just say, is there any way past this?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely right.
Okay, Robert, it's time for our listener story of the week. What you got and who's it from?
So this is from Global News. The story is by Sarah DeCotto from the 20. I don't know what Global News
basically.
is.
Global News are the people who own... Oh, right, different Global. Right.
Yeah, this is globalnews.ca, so Canada.
Right, okay.
The story was submitted by Steve. This is from the 23rd of October,
Steve.
by the way. This is... I haven't watched the video, by the way, but... video of worker urinating in factory vat of Chinese beer under investigation.
Oh, wow. Did we not always suspect that dodgy beer from China was...
Alex, I think that plays... There's some beers from China I really enjoy, thank you very much.
No, I said the dodgy ones. I didn't say the other ones. I meant the dodgy ones, the cheap ones, the ones that are like 50p a can in the corner shop.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't drink... Do you know what's happening here? I don't actually drink, listeners, so I'm revealing myself here as... I know Rob. Rob is... Unlike Rob's sort of general predilections for things, food-wise, which might be like... You know what? I'm quite happy to eat things like Monster Munch and Skips and things like that. I know he has very distinguished taste when it comes to you like ales, don't you? I understand.
I like ales. I like craft beers. Yeah, I'm one of these
craft
people.
Beer.
Yeah, I won't drink like Foster's or Stella. I'm not. That's not me.
Yeah, you won't. No Castlemaine 4X for Rob or Do you drink any, what do they call that? Those wife beater beers?
Stella's the one. Yeah. Stella, Kronenberg, though, that kind of thing.
No, what are the ones that are even cheaper than that? You remember, like the equivalent of Diamond White for cider?
Special Brew.
Yeah, that's it. Special Brew. I've had Special Brew, Rob.
Yeah, so have I. Many, many years ago. It's, appalling. Absolutely,
When I was in secondary school and we went on this sort of... it was like a 3-day camping thing or something in the middle of East Grinstead. I can't remember what it was. Was it secondary school or was it primary school?
Sorry, in the middle of East Grinstead? What, in a town centre?
No, fuck off, Rob. Listen, there's countryside there.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
Right, we, I think I was about 11 or 12, I can't remember, but we all were allowed to go on this 40-minute walk led by adults to some corner shop in the village and stock up for the evening. Because back then it was totally fine for kids to just buy shitloads of sweets and things sort of
sure.
and things like that.
Yep.
But me and the group of people in my tent bought a 6-pack of shandy and really tried to get drunk from it, but it didn't work.
I like a shandy, and apparently Bash Shandy, which I used to really enjoy, has been discontinued. Also, interesting fact, East Grinstead is the UK headquarters of Scientology. So, there you go, there's a fact.
Yeah, we visited there as well, and our group leader said he was also a deep sea diver, so...
Let's go on with the story. So, one of the most popular beer makers in China said it is investigating a viral video that appeared to show a factory worker urinating to a large vat of ingredients this month. The video came from inside a brewery belonging to the Tsingtao, the second largest beer maker in China, according to the BBC. In the clip, a man wearing a blue uniform and hard hat is seen climbing into the large vat. The man, who has not been publicly identified, then appears to urinate into the vat. The container was believed to hold ingredients for the company's popular light lager. The video was originally posted to the Chinese social media site.
Sorry, Rob.
What's called? Sorry.
Do we know what the beer is called?
Yeah, Tsingtao.
Well, do we know what that translates as?
No, that's the name of the beer.
Yes, but it's a Chinese word that would translate as something else, wouldn't it, Rob?
Possibly. Yeah, I don't know what it translates as.
You know, like Chinese words, Rob, translate into other words. Yeah.
Yes.
In other languages,
also,
you do.
But like Foster's doesn't translate to anything, Alex. It's just a brand name. That was my point.
Well, okay, but we don't know that in this case. It could translate to yellow streaks, which was the joke. Streaky piss, couldn't it?
Hang on, I'll see if
golden shower.
No, it doesn't translate as anything. It is just a brand name. But thank you for contributing.
Why is Castlemaine 4X called Castlemaine 4X? It's the most bizarre name in the world.
Also, I don't think they actually make Castlemaine 4X. I think it no longer exists.
I wouldn't give a Castlemaine 4X for anything else.
No, apparently it's still brewed, but it's just not sold in the UK anymore. Apparently they still make it in Australia. Do you want me to find out why it's called that?
Yeah, I was also trying to look it up. It's named after the town of Castlemaine, Victoria.
Apparently they also make Castlemaine 3X, which is a sparkling ale.
Anyway,
doesn't say why it's got 4X's though.
No, I think it has to do with strength, like it's strong, Rob.
Would make sense, yeah, it would make sense.
Just like XXX indicates hardcore pornographic content.
Correct. It's a nice comparison. The video was originally posted to the social media site Weibo this month and has been viewed by 10 million people. On Friday, Tsingtao released a statement about the growing outrage surrounding the viral clip and said the company had already contacted local police. The beer maker said the video is from inside its factory in Pingdu City, China. Sorry, Alex, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say that says a lot, doesn't it, when 10 million people want to watch somebody pissing into a vat of beer?
Yeah, it does, yeah. I mean, let's face it, at least a couple of those will probably been drinking Tsingtao at the time of watching the clip.
Yeah.
Be interesting to know whether they still continue drinking afterwards.
Okay, everybody. Well, that brings episode 404 to a close. Rob, I have really enjoyed that episode, despite feeling, pretty rough. That was very enjoyable, and also, I think, feels good, Rob, to have also just get paid our tribute to the king.
Yes, agreed.
God save the king. What did we say we were saving him from? From genital herpes and other afflictions.
Yeah, I mean, that's something he and everyone needs to be saved from, but particularly the king, because he's our sovereign. Is that enough?
We should do that. We should start doing it. It'd be great thread to do on X or wherever. God save the king, and then you just get people to list things from what.
That'd be nice.
Specific, yeah. What are the things? Actually, that might be not a bad idea for us to stick on Twitter. Can people be specific about what we want to save the king from?
I mean, if it was Hugo Heights, obviously it'd be cheaters.
Well, that's one thing I would like to. Yeah, God save the king from cheater attacks.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Maybe from the cost of living crisis. I'm not sure how it's affecting him, but
of course it would, Rob. Of course it would, Rob. He feels our pain. Of course it would affect him. He's
a man of the
like
people,
us.
Alex. Yeah.
That brings episode 414 to a close. We look forward with a mixture of eager anticipation. We don't do that anymore, sorry. We can be found on our website, LAPodcast.net. There's a PayPal button in the top right-hand corner. Where you can donate, leave a tip. Think of it as a tip, like you might order a coffee from Starbucks and say to the person, here's 20p. I don't know if you do that. Do people do that? If you do that, you can leave us 20p if you want. I think minimum donation is probably something like £1. But if you do that, Rob will send you a link to all of our extra bonus episodes that we did for a while on Patreon that were called LA Podcast and Extra Jab, and you will get our eternal thanks. We shall be back in a week's time with another episode of LA Podcast 415. We very much enjoyed your company. We look forward to seeing you in a week's time when hopefully I will be fully better. God bless.
And keep it local.
Hi listeners, I've just got to add a quick disclaimer to the end of this week's episode. I erroneously cast doubt on the idea that our king and sovereign, King Charles III, might not be able to pilot an aircraft or indeed a spacecraft, and that is factually incorrect. Both King Charles III and his son, the Honourable Prince of Wales, are fully qualified RAF pilots, which of course means that King Charles would be able to pilot an experimental craft that resembled a UFO, powered by a form of electromagnetism. Well, I don't know if the skills are transferable from flying an RAF jet to an extraterrestrial spacecraft, but the point is King Charles III is a qualified pilot, and I'm sure is probably the best pilot that's ever lived. Long live the king.